Yeah, all right, there we go, guys. Well, that was fun. So I'm guessing you missed all that. I was talking for a few minutes, so sorry about that, guys. Can you hear me now loud and clear? All good there, Linton? All good, mate? That should be good. All right, we'll get stuck into it. Good work. Now, like I said, so we've got anyone that's new there, what we're going to be doing is getting a bit more active. We've got our Twitter feed, the top left. If I am repeating myself, sorry about that, if it did just drop out. Twitter feed, the top left, that's our main one. So we've been putting up bits and pieces there that we like, we find interesting, or we think could be educational for you. That could be worthwhile reading. Facebook's on the top right. That's if you get onto us there, just like us on there and help us spread the word a bit. And we've got to the bottom right is our YouTube. Subscribe to us there. Now we're going to get a bit more active through YouTube, which is not necessarily the trade setup stuff, but we're going to be doing more talks, more bits and pieces, just sort of educational stuff we want to get out there, chatting about what we do, but we're doing it to a meetup group. We've done a few in the past and we're going to start doing a few more. So just keep an eye out for anything that comes through. We will notify people through the TradeSetup app as well. So if you don't have a subscription, jump on and grab yourself a trial and then see how you go from there. All right, let's get into it. So today, I haven't got a lot to talk about today, which is amazing for me, to be honest. Always got something I'm going to talk about. I've got a couple of stocks we're going to look at for a couple of people sent in. Paul, sorry you couldn't make it, mate, but we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Sydney. All right. Yeah, we're talking about Sydney Airport. So I like what you're looking at there. It looks quite nice. And we've got LOV that I think Linton put in. So we'll take a quick look at that as well, just to see how it's going. All right, let's get stuck into it. We'll just drop this. Let me just get rid of that. And I've just got to change the vid, don't I? Now, there we go. That's better. So the US, not a big night. There's Thanksgiving is tonight, so they've got pretty much a long weekend. You probably find a lot of people taking Friday off. So it's been thinner volume in the US last night. Not a big night. Well, the futures were pretty much flat at the end on the S&P, but I think the Dow was down about 60 points or so. Not a big hit. All right, we always know the cheeky one. Someone at support. I don't know who that could be. Yeah. All right. Is that nice and clear there, guys? Is that clear with the sound coming through? That's the main thing. But yeah, so the US last night, it wasn't a big night. Probably more or less, we had a bit of a sell-off, just locking in the gains from the previous bounce. A big move up the previous night, I think it was. Probably locking in before they've got a long weekend. So I wouldn't expect major action for us tonight. Yeah, it's dropping in and out. So I wouldn't expect major action for us tonight. Today, in today's session, just because the US is off tonight. And then I assume tomorrow might be a quiet one. So it might be just time to get some other jobs, bits and pieces done tomorrow. If we don't move around too much tonight, we've still got the European session, which is as always can be interesting. The DAX got sold off pretty heavily last night. They got a few political issues. I always forget her name. Not Yellen. Anyway, a German chancellor or president. Now she's just going to go to the polls. I think they were trying to sort out some deal with another group over there. I don't know how it all works, but yeah. So that's they've got a few political issues. Could be changing the guard there. Merkel, is it the Merkel? Anyway, that could be someone else. So that's a big sell-off there in the DAX, but the FTSE was pretty much break even. That's, they're looking at, I think the FTSE, they had their budget come out, which is interesting to say that there's probably going to be a bit of a spike in spending as they get into a Brexit economy. A few different things, obviously got to spend a bit more. They don't anticipate the growth is going to be, obviously because of all the changes, significant change, leaving what they've got to do, all that sort of stuff. They don't expect that there's going to be massive growth the next few years. It's going to kick off. So that sort of knocked the pound on the head a bit, I think, last night. Although the US dollar got hammered a bit last night, which buoyed the US dollar a bit. Sorry, buoyed the pound a bit. But the FTSE is pretty much flat. We'll see how that goes. They were looking towards interest rate rises, but that may or may not just start to make that a bit, well, put that in the back bench, I guess, a bit. Put it in the back seat a bit. So we'll see. US, they're still ticking along nicely. Everyone else ticking along nicely. I think the Hang Seng yesterday made all-time highs. I think it's in the last 10 years, if I'm right. Cracked 30, which it hadn't done for quite a while, 30,000. So they're kicking along nicely. Let's actually take a look if I can get that up now. This markets indices. HSI, there we go. Took me a while. I see my download speeds are not too bad, but it's just the upload speeds, which kills the streams a bit. Merkel, that's it. All right. So we've got, yeah, the Hang Seng. So that's kicking on along nicely. You can see that big session, what was that, yesterday? Yeah, touched on those highs. So that's nice. Just kicked above that 30,000 level. So they've had a couple of good sessions there. They're grinding higher. Look at the weekly there. They're into new highs. Or are they? No, they're not. I lie. So they've been up to, what was back in 08, just before the GFC, up to just a touch below 32,000. So still a bit to go, but that structure looks like this could easily extend into the highs. May find a bit of resistance up there. You might find that it reacts a bit lower. All right. So is it cutting in and out, guys, or is it just seeing it now? It's a bit strange. I'm hoping that's not my... That's not it. Let's just have a look at something else as well. Now I've just done something else. Just see if that's better. All right, just let me know if it is still cutting in and out. Yeah. All right, just checking with it. All right, so we're just, sorry about all the issues there, guys. We are going to sort that out, no problem. It's just the old move with Optus, as we all know. Say one thing. I think it's about time I give them a bit of a beating online. I might tell them that too. So they say one thing and they deliver something else. Say anything for business. So VA very low. All right. Just 1 second. All right. What I might do. Sorry about that, Nendo. What I might do, guys, if you can just give me a minute, what I might do is just hook up to the laptop and just go from there. Yeah, I'll give that a crack. Is everyone okay with that? Yeah, just let me know. Do you want me to, can everyone just wait 2 minutes or so, a few minutes, and I'll just get myself organized on the laptop. It just means I've got to stream from the laptop, which could be a bit better. And then, yeah, it is cutting in and out, isn't it? Yeah, I'll stream from the laptop. We'll go through the phone, and that should sort it out a bit better. Bear with me a minute there, guys. All right. Can we hear me loud and clear there, guys? Is that better? Just let me know. How's that? Right, that's better there, I'm guessing. Now, of course, I'm going to have issues with the screen, aren't I? This is going to be a bit of a painful process, but we'll get there. Oh, no, stay there. Stay there. I had my other screen set up. Right, that should be better. No, it's not, is it? All right, I think that is the one. Now let's just minimize this as touch. Right, that's what we want. So, well, let's get into it. That's good. Yeah, picture and sound. Oh, great. This should be a lot better, guys. We should be kicking on through now, as long as all goes well. All right, let's get started again. So, what was I talking about? The US, I think they're ticking along nicely. I think they're not doing too bad at all. We've got that's the Hang Seng. We've got the FTSE, which is still plugging away. It's holding up at those highs, not doing too bad. The Dow, you know, it's sort of accelerated a couple of days ago, which is doing well. Still heading its way higher. We've got the S&P there. Same sort of reaction. It is, I mean, we've spoken about this a few times now. You can see it's getting a bit extended there. Might have to just minimize just drag that up a bit, just so we can see the whole thing. You can see that that's starting to get a bit... Yeah, that's a bit better. So just looking at the chart through the stream just to make sure it fits in. Had it the wrong format, didn't have a chance, but we've got it there. So that's the old, that's the S&P there. So you can tick it away nicely up there. You can see that it's extended at the moment, but you know, no reason why it can't keep on going. There's no other. I mean, like we've spoken about before, where else are funds going to go? I know that the earnings reports have pretty much finished. I think as of this week in the US. Earnings are pretty much done. They didn't get the same results as they had in the past, but they're still putting on growth. You know, they're still doing quite well. There's no, I think, apart from the rate rises this December, I think the last minutes out I think it was last night or early hours of this morning, they weren't talking too much about the longer term rate rises. So I think they were a bit concerned about inflation longer term. So we'll probably get another rate rise. Obviously, it's pretty much locked in for December, as we are, but the figures, if they don't pick up, then your longer term rate rise is probably just going to keep them on hold, which means the bigger movement of funds, is it going to go into bonds? Is there anywhere else to park your funds and earn a return off it apart from into equities? So I think that's the general theme of things. The bond market's bouncing around a bit, but it's more just on expectations of what's happening in the future now that the minutes have just come out. That expectation is that potentially they're concerned about rate rises down the track, not just December, but down the track, and maybe keep everything on hold. So if that's the case, I would expect this theme, maybe you get these few little corrections just to wash out a few people, bring them back in, and then it starts stepping higher. So you'll get the constant bargain hunting until there's a significant change in the theme. But that's us. We look at the XJO. XJO, that's just kicking through that 6,000 mark here, 59.82. It's just touched on 6,000. We are on a monthly. Let's go to the daily. This is the one I kind of like. I don't mind that pump through 6,000, pull back, and if it can consolidate just around here a bit and then start heading higher, I think it's got a good chance of really pushing up to the all-time highs, like we spoke about that on Monday. You can see this pretty much this leg up. Even you take this leg from bottom to top, and then take it from bottom to top, that takes us somewhere around the all-time highs, around that 68 mark. But yeah, we'll see it. Only time will tell on that. We are extended, but we have been extended for a while. You can see around here, that little push up, got a bit extended, had a bit of a pullback, dragging some more, just to wash out a few people, dragging some more buys, and it's headed higher, touched the 6,000, had a bit of a pullback, and then we've just touched through it now. You can see. So that's my view, looking quite good. Let's take a look at now what we've actually got. Without mucking around too much, we've got, I'll go over to here. I haven't actually looked at them properly today. So these are the ones we got. Tor going nicely. I've tightened that up a bit. We've taken a bit of a partial, I think it was around 37.5, and this little spike up here took your partial, and it's holding high low. So technically that's still going along strong. I think the news out's been quite good, been supportive of higher moves. You can see just that sort of contraction through here, and we've got the market was selling down a bit, squeezing out a few of those late buys in here, and then it started holding some higher lows as the buyers started stepping back in again. Happy to hold higher prices and pay higher prices, and you can see that the supply of buyers was quite good, and that's given that to really nudge up to 40. And that was quite fast, excuse me, hard and fast move, accelerated highs, but then we're getting the price action is changing slightly, so we've got a decent enough correction. So the biggest one here still held a high low, touched up to new highs, but didn't get through 40 quite convincingly, and the same with a couple of good down days, a fairly good little pullback, and then we just touched up through the highs again, and then we're sort of doing that same thing. So to me, it could just be looking like we're maybe running out of buys. We might have more of a macro correction where we get some lower highs and then lower lows, and then start to build this type of price action again, and then that gives more confidence to the longer term traders to start maybe adding to a position or jumping in if you missed it before. But I think the story is quite good on Tor, and either way we're sitting on some good healthy gains on that. MGE, I didn't see that just topple over, so we're in there from 294. Just have to check my, I think it's 290. No, sorry, it was 280, 279 or 280 on the dot. So we got in just with this push up through here. Took a partial at 294 when we got through, and it's just pumped up through the $3 mark. So that's nice. Actually, maybe 289. Either way, that's kicking on nice, and then we're starting to look a bit extended on this one. It's probably going along with the US. It is the global equity, so it's sort of based around the US, I guess. You can see that market there, some lower lows just in here. Buyers are happy to hold it up around 240, and we've got this little acceleration higher. Good pullback, washed out a few of these late buyers, and then that held beautifully, and it's just starting to extend now. So we're getting to that time, that that move up, where it's starting to look a bit extended. So we're happy just to start tightening things up a bit. I think currently we've got it around 294 on the remaining. So we're taking a partial at 294, got the remaining at 294. So if we get that trades 294, we're out. But if it can continue high and just start to just really stretch a bit further, maybe have a bit of a blowout to the top, we'll see. But it's been it still is fairly controlled on that. All still going good. Not too many problems going through the phone. I think we're going to figure that out. We're going to check that pretty soon. Make sure it's going a lot better. Is it all good there, guys? Coming through better? Just let me know how we're going. Just have to check on this one here. No problem. That's great. No worries. So what do we got here? That's MGE. We've got RMD. That's starting to look, I like this one. I like the longer term. This is why we bought it. Longer term. So I've got my little daughter here. She's just taking a look at the computer. What do you think, Livy?
Good.
Looks good. Is Daddy good? Yeah. All right. So what we've got here, that's our weekly charts there. We've got a monthly. You can see that accelerated here. And it's good to see that. That little spike up, and then it's pulled back, but it's consolidated the highs rather than actually roll over from here. So that's really a nice positive sign. That's longer term. That was sort of 2015, 2016. Then it started picking up again. You can see with these little pushes up, and then it retested those lows, and then we started holding some higher lows, and it really started getting a bit of a kick on through middle of this year. And then you can see now, the thing is we've got our entry just below 10. It did spike up quite nice and hard. We've taken a partial 11.15. and it's just getting there now, but it's just starting to look, even on the weekly, it's extended, the daily is extended, even up towards the monthly. So all three of those time frames are starting to look like price is getting it a bit extended. And when it gets extended, you know, most people will start to look for maybe a reason to exit, or they're really starting to tighten up on their risk. Now we've got our risk, let me just see, just make that a bit bigger. As long as it's coming through clearly. Our risk, we've tightened it right up. I've tightened it just above 11.05 I think it was. So I'm not willing to risk too much, but I don't really want to shut the door on any more, you know, price appreciation. I don't want to see if there is more buyers willing to buy it at high prices and really give it a bit of a ramp up. I don't want to miss out on that. So happy to tighten it up a bit. If we get tagged on 11.05, so be it. Done quite well on that trade, and we'll just look for something else. CKF, that has picked up today. That's nicely. So Davin, so far I'm in the lead, mate, if you can hear me. We've got a little, it's a little bet on this one to see if it does kick off. I think the daily, my entry on the daily was just through here, just through those highs, if I remember correctly, 594. 594 on that one, and it touched on 6, and I wasn't looking too good with this little pushback down. But it's the weekly chart that forget that back. The weekly chart that I like better. You can see the market's pushed up. It's had those, what we were talking about the other day, that one move down, lower high, a secondary move down, just to wash out a few traders. Then it started holding, and you can see that really start to pick up here. Really out of contraction, started to accelerate higher, and then we got the same sort of price action. One move, bit of a pop up, lower high, secondary move down, and then we've held that level just below 5, and then we started picking up. And even on the daily, you can see that's just on the weekly. It's probably clearer here. 1, 2 moves down just to wash it out, but that's a weekly high or low. So I'm thinking if we can get up through 6, if it's pushed up, that'd be very positive. Push up through 6 and start attacking 620 and above, and really start to, whoop, let me just get that going, there we go. And on that weekly, start to kick up and start accelerating on the weekly, and it's mainly this level here. You can see these highs here at around 629, 630. If we get up through there, I think that'll be on. And it's nice contraction there. You can see it's going to come out of a nice little, and then the buyers are really taking control. Really, I want to see some acceleration on that one, see if it can accelerate through 6. Yeah, 6 and then 630. We're going through all right. Back again. All right, so we know the phone kicks us off. All right, that's a good thing to know. That's CKF on that one. Saracen, that's entries around 150, I think, and it's just hanging around there. Gold still holding these high lows. I just want that little blowout to the top to really start kicking on, wipe out the highs, and then start to get that acceleration to the high. But at the moment, we're gonna have to start just keeping an eye on this one. So the weekly's still looking good to grind higher. We're still thinking it's going to attack up towards 180. These previous highs start to push its way higher, but we'll just keep an eye on this one. And SGM, which we've got that entry through 1450. It's backed off since then, obviously, and then we'll just see if we can hold the high or low here. Buy a step back in and push it up through 1550. The weekly looks quite good. A bit of pressure to the upside as buyers are stepping in. You see that there. You can see it's a nice little high low built at 13, and we're just trying to get it on the rise there. So we'll see how that one goes. Any questions on those guys? Dav's not giving up yet. It's a very important bet. It's a bet. Let's say a 6-pack. All right. Any question on those? Are they coming? That all makes a bit of sense there. What we'll do now is we'll take a look at those two trades we've got. Firstly, you guys write on the book there. We've got Sydney Airports, SYD. Now, this is one that Paul was talking about, and Paul's been really good. He's always happy to send through his trades to have a look at. Always questions them, which is really good, and it's good for learning. Always been able to question your trades and asking, different opinions. I mean, everyone should do it. I think everyone, Dav and myself, I'd always sit there if I'm just getting someone else's opinion on what they're seeing, as opposed to, just getting caught in your own sort of, what you're viewing. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, sometimes there's things that you miss, sometimes it's pretty clear. So it's always good to have a bit of a chat. So Paul's given us this one here, which is Sydney Airports. I think we've got on the weekly there, so you can see going from left to right, had that really good run up. And what this move down has done is really pushed out a lot of these buyers, especially the late buyers, back out of the market. It's consolidated around just above 6. We've had that little pop up, took out the highs, previous highs, but then the pullback was quite shallow, and you can see we're holding higher lows through here. And if we go back to the daily, you can see that's a bit clearer. That's that big move back down to, no, it's not, it was 6, wasn't it? So that was a 6. This is this move down here, this little pullback. Again, lower lows, that would have forced out a few of these late buys that brought it back up into those highs. Just when it washed out the highs, it's come back. They would have got a bit antsy, maybe looking for a double top. But what you're getting here is that nice little buys are starting to step back in. The longer term buys, maybe adding to their position, I said, or just some new buys willing to buy it in here, and you know exactly where your risk is, especially when it broke just through these. Actually, we'll get it up and draw it up. I know it might be a bit tough. It's going to be a small chart, I'm guessing. Actually, let's try it. We'll get that there. Alright, now is that, oh, it's a small chart, isn't it? Look, we'll give it a go. Can't hurt, let's just give it a go. So what I like is this move up here. So this move down when it's brought in, even that, well, just get rid of that. You've got this little lower high in here, and that's led to this move down. And then we had another lower high in here. You would have got selling pressure, but you can see that it's just starting to hold up here. We've got this little pop up, another retest, and then we started to lift from here. So a nice little entry would have been, or could have been, you know, looking for that major high low on the weekly, looking for a pop up. So if anyone's bought it through here with their risk just below those lows, nice area to enter in. But if they're looking at this as potentially being a double top, you're getting a major lower high. They may have been flushed out of the market with this move down. But then what we've seen now, which I think's a lot better, is the high lows that are holding. You can see that, and we're pushing back up. So I'm expecting this move to start to accelerate through those highs at 780. And you may have a few stops, the longer term stops, you just get triggered and just get that little oomph to the upside. Really drag it in those buys, but we'll see how that plays out. So that's Sydney. I actually, now that he's mentioned it, I'm thinking about an alert on it. So just keep an eye out on TradeSetup. But we'll see how it goes. It's looking good. You can see it's just starting to curl to the upside, which is always nice. And you want to get it off these higher lows. If you can get it here and it starts to accelerate, and we get these, you know, a few days in a row of some solid moves up, then you know that the buyers are on your side. And there's going to be, you know, more buying pressure than selling pressure. Just go to that weekly, and you can see the weekly stochastics. It's just touching on the 50, so there's a lot of room to move on the upside in the way of buy pressure. Does that make sense there, guys? All right, let's just check everything's good. Let's just see what we're getting on that. Now, if anyone can see, this is what I'm talking about. This is the upload speed, 26 kilobytes. Now, when I'm on my ADSL2, that's about 500, so that's a completely different. It may just get a bit, so it's looking like that's the way we're going, Dav, for sure. All right, LOV, which is the next one. This was sent in by Linton, and that's, yeah, no, that's looking good. So this is your weekly here. I'll just quickly check. I just want to see what they do. Fashion. Into fashion. There you go, Linton. There we go. Get back to the weekly. That's looking nice. I wonder if I can get it better. Just nick that off. Just make sure that's going. That's looking good. All right, so this is LOV. It's looking a bit extended here, and you can just see on the, this is the weekly. It's starting to look a bit, just getting a bit toppy up here, and you can see that by the price action just starting to wane a bit. And that's, you know, after a good strong week. That would have been a few weeks ago. I'm assuming back in September, October, this candle, this weekly candle here. Yeah, probably end of September, I'm saying. What are we there? October, start of October. So that was a good solid week up, and then it's just starting, the heat's starting to come out of the market a bit. So what we're going to keep an eye on here is how that's happening. If there's a bit of heat coming out of the market, but it's going sideways, you can see there's been some selling pressure, but it's been soaked up. That means there's still some good buying in there. There's still some good buying willing to support higher prices, and it could be going for another run up. So all keeping that in mind, especially the fact that it's spent so much time. You can see that little pop up. And that was way back into 2015, and then got sold down heavily. Found the base at $2, and then we started pushing up, and we took out those highs at the start of this year, previous highs from 2015-16, just in here. But we held higher lows again, and it started acceleration. You can see the curving of that market. It's just getting away from the MA. So really what we're getting probably now on the weekly chart anyway is a bit of reversion back to the mean, a bit of coming back to the MAs. The MAs catching up to price as it consolidates sideways. On the daily, you can see that it's finding some selling, but it's also getting soaked up by some buying pressure. So there is still some buyers out there willing to give it a bit of a go. And we'll just, if we can draw that one up. There we go. The good thing is, I mean, you can see those lower highs putting a bit of pressure on channel, whatever you want to call it, flag. I don't know all those technical terms. It could have a bit of a way to go. It's definitely broken that uptrend, you can see, by going sideways. So we're in more of a macro correction. So it's really just seeing how long it's going to go for. And it's times like this which is where you should be keeping an eye on it. I don't want to say too much. All right, we've got the cheeky man's back again. LOV products. Yeah. So I think if that just sort of consolidates there, the next thing you'd be looking for is really just to see it's popped up, see what it does from here, and you want to see it's holding some, it's ever so slightly some lower lows and lower highs, so the pressure's still good. You want to see the higher lows start to hold, and if it can do that and then start to come out of contraction, that's ideally, once you see that, which I think, well, just from my guessing experience, that looks like what's going to be playing out. You just don't want to get caught if it does just have a bit of a spike to the downside and starts to, you know, like it has in the past. I think we saw that a while ago. It's more on the weekly chart. Bad news, whatever it happens. Something takes traders off guard, and then it just gaps down and it spikes down. It could find some support right down at 450, and it has got the potential to go there. But what we're really looking for, that's your leg up. We're looking for that consolidation, that macro correction, going sideways, just a corrective action, and we want to take advantage of the secondary leg up. Does that make sense? So what we're ideally looking for here, that's your first leg up there, and if we can just get some high lows hold, then we're really looking for, you know, this type of price action to get involved in the secondary leg up. And this is your, you know, your first leg up, I'm guessing. We'll take it to there. So that's your first leg up. That's going to wash out a few traders, a few profit taking, but if it holds highs, it's also going to drag in some either new traders, or they're going to re-enter a position. So a lot of people trade differently. Just remember, not everyone trades the same. Well, everyone trades differently, really. No one really trades the same. So you've got different time frames, different goals, different targets. Everything's different. So a lot of people might just build a position here. They see this as an opportunity to build longer term. So you've got very longer term players. Other people might just take some off there and then re-enter it when it starts to perk up again off higher lows. So it's like a separate trade, but they're just building back up to a full size position rather than a half position. Or, you know, any number of trades. So that there is probably going to drag in some more buyers once you start seeing some higher lows, if it's a good solid story. So it's looking good either way, Linton. I think you're on the right track. Now, I'm just going to check something. That's all good. All right. Any questions just on that one before we get into looking at some other charts? So feel free to whack in your charts. Now, if there's anything you want to take a quick look at, put it into the chat, and then we get going. Let me just get seeing what we got here. So market's only down a point at the moment. It may start easing off, get a bit quieter. We've got a couple here. I think I sent out one today. Just got to remember, that's not it. It was IVR. Now this is a little one. It's not, I mean, in all honesty, it's not looking the best now, but you can just see that is starting to lift. I mean, that's a longer term, really just contracting lower. But from what I hear, they're doing quite good things. There's going to be some good things happening, potentially. And I think they're doing a capital raising, if I'm guessing correctly, but we'll see. So that's, it's a good little price there. This is only a small one, by the way. This is just something I thought would be worthwhile talking about. Put it back on a weekly. Have I? Give me rid of these. So you can see, yeah, on the weekly, so we've had this move up, a big sell-off for whatever reason, and it's just holds some lower highs. But what we're starting to see now is just that first sort of sign, and this is a major level. We can't get back to the weekly. Sort of this 2 mark. It's touched down there before, low of 2.8, and through here is, just below that. But what we're seeing now is that's your lows, and it's really taken all the heat out of the market. And then we started lifting again. We've got a bit of a push up for whatever reason, high low form up here, and a bit of another push up through the middle of last year. And then since then, the heat's coming back out of the market. But what we're doing around this 2 mark is just holding that high low. And you can see from the weekly, it's more the weekly that I'm interested in, the longer term story, that it's well and truly down on its knees, but it's a high low from where it's been in the past of say 1.5 cents. Something to keep an eye on rather than, we're not really looking at it as a trade alert at the moment. A lot of it's got to do with the volume. It's got a little bit of volume in there, not a lot. But if we can start seeing this perk up from here and some good news start to flow through, you can see the way that's been controlled on the way down. It hasn't been any serious selling, sort of lower highs, lower lows, and that's probably more than likely people that bought it up in here. They've been holding it for some good news. It tried to go back up again, but it's made a lower high, and they're just easing out most of this year. So if the story starts picking up again, we want to see that high low build. I mean, it's all about your high lows as we see, evidence that buyers are jumping in. A high low basically is meaning, and what we're meaning by that is not anything from a technical pattern, but it's more your psychology. You know that buyers are stepping in at higher prices. They're willing to accept higher prices. Now, you're only accepting higher prices if you're quite positive on it. And your outlook is bullish. You're not going to buy it if you're not confident on it moving up. And if you see that company with a bit of volume increase, then you know there's quite a few people starting to look at it. So, yeah, we'll see how we go. Sorry, what you doing there? Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that one. That's a good one, I think. I just think there could be some things happening there. It's on its knees on the weekly. We just have to see how that plays out. If we can start picking up from here, it's got a few key levels, mainly up towards that 3. If we can break up around 3, then I think that's breaking out of that down trend, and we're starting to see some signs of buying, signs of life. Anyway, let's get into the next one. So we've got Barry S32. Now S32 is a funny one on this. For some reason, if I go to type that in, it doesn't come up. I don't understand why. Let me just say south. S32, there we go. And it's a bit of a, there we go. So South 32, I do like it. I mean, it's in a lot of all the commodities at the moment. The commodities are doing good things. Longer term, from 2016, you've had this good push up, good solid macro correction here. The good part of half of this year, 6 months or so, it's spent just contracting more sideways than anything else. You can see through here. Just chopping it, had a bit of a pop up, retested those highs, but as it pulled back down, it's really just retesting those lows, and then it started building from here. So it's always a good sign when you see the market go into more of a macro correction, because you know that people are going to be washed out of the market. It's putting the buyers, it's just putting that supply back on the sidelines, ready to come back in again. And when you get a little pop up, okay, it couldn't get through it at that stage, and it's come back down and retest, and then you get the buyers start to step back in again. Alright, am I going okay there? Yeah, we're still up and running there, guys. Can you hear me clearly? Looks like it's still up and running. Yep. Oh, we still look like we're clear. All right, so you can see this, it's getting a bit choppy. So when it touches down again, and you can see that it just reconfirms that level as a good little level. So at the moment there, it's making lower lows, lower highs, it's pushing down. Had a bit of a reaction back up. I mean, it doesn't mean too much. You don't quite, I mean, you could even buy it for a continuation trade, but when it does it a secondary time, then that's going to drag in more buyers, because that's showing that it's really good strength at that level, and then buyers are willing to protect it at around that 250 level, and are willing to buy back into it again. Yeah. All right. So the secondary time, when you get that double bottom, a lot of people call it, or that retest, we call it a retest fail. So when that retest and it fails and starts heading back up again, or the reverse for selling, then you start looking for your high lows again. You've got a nice little spot in here, nice high low, and then you're just looking for an entry from there. Enter it in here. So that's well and truly on its way up. What I would really be looking for is to see at what stage we're at. We've had that good strong leg up, good part of a year, consolidated for 6 months, so it could be starting a secondary leg up. So you pretty much measure it from, say, 1 up to 3, $2 movement, you've got 250 up to 450. So if that's the case, there's still a bit of fat in this trade here, and you can easily just buy it. If you get a setup now, and what I mean by a setup, if I was looking at this one, South 32, what I'd ideally be looking for is just that inside. We've spoken about it before, that inside continuation trade. So the market's, it's pushed up here, you can see it's pulled back, and we're just bouncing off that support zone there. What I'd ideally like to see, and that's your support zone, we're just bouncing up. I'd like to see just a little minor pullback, and then you could, you know, you don't know what's going to happen there, but you can either buy it, just looking off a higher low, so you know where you're going to put your risk. You can either buy it if it breaks out there, if it keeps contracting, but you're just looking for a breakout of a, you know, a level, an inside level, off a higher low. Is that making sense? Was that making sense, guys? Yeah, this is just not good enough. I'm really sorry about all this, guys. We've got a plan of attack. I'm just going to check out how it goes. All right, so did that make sense there on S32? So be hanging in there, Barry. Sorry, mate. So that's what I'd like to see. I think it's, I mean, just buying it here, if you bought it here at, say, 340, wherever the current market is, ideally you'd want to have your risk just below that high low, just below 320. Always like working off that, because I think this sort of price action, inside a high, more contraction, it's going to drag in some serious buying. Well, that wasn't very good. It's going to drag in some better buying, and then you know that that's going to start to accelerate. And it's generally, it's followed by some good hard buying and some accelerated moves, and that I would expect to take us through those highs at, say, 370. And the fact that we've had that little spike up, I'm sort of expecting that. All right, the next one, you had WPL. Yeah, I would look at this as along the same sort of lines. I think, yeah, crude's having a good little run, but it's just could be, maybe it's getting ahead of itself a bit. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But on WPL, you can see the longer term, and that's through the GFC. That's when, you know, crude oil just got hammered, and you've just got lower highs. It's still longer term, could just be a little bit of a blip, and we get a lower high in here, and it heads straight back down through 28, and you start retesting down these lows at 26. The good thing is, when I'm just seeing off this weekly chart, I expect a bit more consolidation. So just remember, actually, let's draw this up. So I think longer term, it hasn't proved itself. Don't like that. So what I'm looking at is more that price action. You can see that that's still, it's a nice little turning point for a move lower, if that's making sense. Even though we've got, and we've done it before, you know, you get a bit ahead of yourself with a move down. It's got support through here. It's bounced up, and here we could have thought the same thing, but instead it's got sold off. And you know that we're starting to come. You would expect that we're starting to find. The market's trying to find a bit of a base. Buyers are starting to try to find a bit of a base because we're not getting through those lows. So back here we pushed down through the lows just here, but not significantly, not seriously. These moves down were nothing like what we saw at the start of the move, even through here. They're quite savage moves down. Bit of that move up there is always going to lead you to believe that it's not going to be a strong market. It's more of a corrective of this leg down. It's more correcting that leg down, and it did, and we got a secondary leg down. So this could be the same. Does that make, so we're just correcting this move down, correcting back up, coming back to the MAs, and it's a reversion back to the mean of a downtrend. The reverse of what we just spoke about before. It's reverting back to the mean by just grinding its way back up, and then potentially we could be coming to that zone where we're going to get knocked over again. Different story, because we are getting crude ticking higher. So you've got to remember that. The weekly, you can see that sort of move down. I wasn't too keen on that, but the fact that we started to pick up from here, this could be a weekly high low, and that could take us through, from here, just perk us back up and get us through that little high there. Does that make sense? So we're all about that. Oh, to me, it's really just at the crux at the moment. I think we're at that zone where, yeah, we know crude's kicking up. We're just waiting to see if we can get up through this 34 zone, if we can get up through there, and it just backed off there. You can see with this move up, it got up just below 34. It's pretty much touched right on that longer term resistance. Backed off quite savagely too. But now what you'd want to see, ideally what I would like to see, is if we just draw that up, I think it's got a fair bit more work to do because of the moves up and down. So this here, quite a good move inside, touched up here, and then we had this move down, pretty much to the lows, just below 28.25. This move up was quite savage, so that's, to me, is going to be unsustainable, and you can see by the move down it was quite savage too, unsustainable there. But what I'd like to see from here, we've had that big move up, big move down, we're just perking up now. I want to see the market come to a more of an equilibrium type of price with some higher lows holding, some lower highs within this level, somewhere around 31 to 30, say 32 even. Just contract in, and then it's going to give you a nice little entry setup if you can get that break through a key level, a key inside level. You know that buyers are starting to step in. You've got more evidence of buyers stepping into the market to push price higher, and then you're just looking for your entry level to confirm what you're seeing. If you're just buying, like I said, you're buying on limit. If you're buying down here, it's a different entry to buying when you've got confirmation on a bit of a push higher, and you're always trying to buy into strength. You're trying to buy when the market's rising rather than when it's trying to find a bottom. Let everyone else do the hard work, the heavy lifting for you. Say down here, a lot of people may have to buy longer term, buying a bit, and start supporting higher prices, and then you want to jump in and take advantage of the emphasis. So you really, I guess the aim of trading is to spend as little time in negative territory as you can. And if you're trading, if you've got that constant way of looking at the market, you know pretty quickly when you're right because you're in the right area. And if you're not in the right area, you're going to see that you're probably down a bit maybe at the start. And if it doesn't pick up quite soon and you don't get some higher lows forming, then you may have to reassess it. But either way, you're not going to spend a long time sitting in the chart, sitting in the market waiting for something to happen. And you're not wasting your time or wasting your money giving up something else that could potentially be moving. Hope that makes sense. Now let's get that out of the way. What's next there? Nia. Yeah, this one's looking actually okay. What I like about this one, if we can just go back a touch, we only really need to go back a bit. Look at the monthly. Well, look at the monthly. Spent a lot of time down here, and we started to lift. So what we're interested in this being a longer term higher lows, and we're looking for those higher lows to hold. Okay, so that's where we're at longer term. Go down to the weekly, and you can see the price action here. This move up, we went into recent highs with this little pop up through 2014. Then we contracted all the way back down, and we had to wash out those lows before what it's done is, and then start to drag in some buys. Took out the highs. At the moment, you're still making what is slightly confusing with this one, and we could do it just here. We may take out the lows and then pop back up. Is that it's? Oh, I did it again. Get rid of that. Let's get that up and running. And I think it's more that it's, let me drill that. What you've got here is the market's, you know, it's had a good little run up. It's contracted, it's washed out a few of these buys. Then you start seeing them hold. You can see that high low in here, and the market's pushed up to new highs, but then it's come all the way back down, you know, with lower highs and washed out that low. And then we've made another little low, and we've turned around and just gone bang straight out of the highs. So what you're getting is sort of a bit of a washout, a good move up, and it's taken out the highs, the previous highs through somewhere around 85, this high here, taken out the high and then capitulated again. What we're at that stage where we could be just trying to hold a high low in here, but really off the weekly, wouldn't be buying it just off the weekly. If we can get a high low here, and it's really about going down to the daily, then I think we're starting to get a bit more traction on the buy side, if that's making sense, rather than popping up here and then coming down and taking out this low again, right down to 30, and then otherwise, that has got the potential to do that, and just, like I said, repeat what we've seen up here, pop up through the highs, and then taking out the lows, pop up through the highs, and then that bigger, just really uncertainty, I guess, of taking out these lows as well. But, so what we want to see here is really just going down to the daily and seeing what's happening in the daily charts. This level for me needs to hold, and we need to find an entry in here, because it's all looking good either way. At this stage, it's just that longer term, but I think that needs to prove to me that we are going to get that top of price section, and we're starting to settle in. The market's starting to settle in a bit more. Less uncertainty and more certainty that buyers are starting to step up to the plate. We've got a high low in here, and that's that big low down at 45. That's your high. You've had this push up, contracted lower, and then we're seeing buyers stepping at this high level at 57.5. You know, they're certain it's not going to go down to 45. You can see that the market, the pressure to push it down to potentially take out these lows, but we're only getting so far as 62. So that's, to me, is a good little heads up that this is a good zone that we can make a higher low on a daily. So I'd be looking for, you know, that's that move up off the base, that pullback, and I'm looking for, again, a little inside high low. We've got proof that buyers are starting to step in, and if we can do that here, little inside high low, then yeah, I'll be happy to get into that. Expecting it to take out 72.5 and start targeting up to at least 80. And just, you've also got not just 80, but you've also got the longer term weekly, probably a bit of wind in your sails there. Taking out 80, I would expect that to take out 80. If we get all that daily type of price action, that inside high low, start to take out this little high, okay, you know it's going, then the next big level is 80, and if it just gets up through there, then you're targeting right up towards $1, and that's going to be a nice little longer term trend higher, and it's not going to, you wouldn't expect it to start, you know, dropping out of the sky again. Oh, that's great. Great work, Barry. We got next DCN. We'll get on to DCN, and then we might call it a day there. It's been a bit of a battle today. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah. All right, so DCN, Greg. Why isn't that showing DCN? I typed in something else, did I? Look, no issue with this at all. No. This is your weekly chart. I mean, that, to me, that weekly chart's looking great. There's not much to say about that. It's looking really nice. It's all about, I think with this type of move, let's just drag it back. It's probably putting into more context. Sorry, guys. Okay, so you've got a, we'll just draw that up. Again, it's not, we're not talking about indicators. We use the indicators, but all we're concerned about is really what's happening between the buyers and the sellers. What kind of pressures to the upside, what kind of pressures to the downside. A buyer's happen to step in. So you've got this little pop up here, high low, and that led to that really big strong move up from, you know, around that 50 cents, 75, 60 something cent mark, up to nearly $4 a share. And then of course, after you get a strong move up like that, you do expect a bit of heat to come out. And we got that, we got these moves down. What I find interesting, you can just sort of identify that key level through there, and that was really a washout. And then we started holding that just back above that level again. Actually, I'll take it one step back. What we did was popped down through. You can see. And then we started holding it again. You can see up here, we spiked up, and then we started to hold some higher lows. So what it's really doing is working its way back up again. I think the key level is really going to be up towards, I'm guessing it's around 255, 260. What's that high there? 257, say 260. Just through here. Because we could easily pop up through there and then start heading down, and we could retest down to 175. We may go lower, we don't know after that. But it's definitely on the weekly chart, it's starting to hold some high lows. It's this type of price action is not as convincing as this type of price action. You can see it's just going bang, 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 all the way up. It's just kept accelerating higher. But longer term, you can see that's a nice little curving. And I could probably draw it up. I'll draw it in a different color, just so you understand exactly what I'm trying to say. That sort of curving action there, that's good. That's always good to see. And you're just really trying to trade it. You know, that's the move up, that's your move down. And then we start holding, it's contracting, and then we start getting to some levels and it starts bringing up. You can see that and it starts accelerating. So you get these, the moves down are getting shorter and shorter. There's less volatility in the move down. Buyers start to buy, you get buyers, people that are happy to buy it on the way down, just load up in a position, and then they start to buy it and support higher prices at here. And you can see that the selling starts to ease out of the market and the buying starts to get more active. Now the buying's getting more active when you get these sharper moves to the upside. And I think we're just somewhere around this stage here. If we can get that little pop up through, what is it, 257, 258, it's only a few cents off now. What I'd ideally be looking for then, I'd be looking for that little pop up. That's your support. I'd be looking to work off a high low, you know, something in here. Does that make sense? So I think once we get that, if we can break up through this little lower high, it's showing, you know, it's definitely showing that buyers are starting to get in control again. And this, just look at the longer term structure, this could potentially be, that's your massive leg up there, even if it's $3.50. Add $3.50 to somewhere around even $1.50, $5. That could be taking us all the way up to $5. So really risk reward is going to be pretty good, I'd say, on that one. Great work, Lenton. Thanks, mate. Thanks for joining us. We'll speak to you Monday. Hopefully we'll get this all sorted out. We'll get it up and running better. So does that make sense there, guys? Just on that one, DCN. So we're just keeping an eye on these little goldies. I think there's a lot of them. And even Newcrest. Have a look at Newcrest. Look at that weekly structure. I really do like that. I'll get it back in a monthly. You can see that big move up, okay? So I know that's a long time. That's a fair few years. But that just through the GFC, bang, got absolutely hammered back down to $10, below $10. Then we started holding again. We've had this little acceleration up to 27, about 27, and then we just, what we're going into is more macro corrective action, but it's better here. It is holding higher lows. So this selling from these lower highs is getting soaked up. It's coming back down. Buyers are stepping in at higher prices. Buyers are stepping in at higher prices. We get up through 24, and I think this is exactly what we're just speaking about. We're starting to come to this stage of that price action where we're holding higher lows. The market's looking good. You go away. The market's looking good, and we're starting to get into that acceleration phase, which we always want to be part of that. All right, so we're not looking to be in a market at this stage. We're not trying to get in here. We're trying to get in, you know, in the unknown. When it's starting to, we're seeing signs of buyers starting to get in, and we're trying to get in nice and early, take advantage of that buying pressure. So we buy in here, and then you start getting the late buyers, you know, for whatever reason, they buy and break out of the highs, whatever. We're starting to, and we want to get the opportunity when it starts to slow down, we want to sell a partial of our position to them. All right, so we're just trying to take the bulk of the move, not all of the move. And if you can get all of it, you're a legend. But if you're trying to get all of it, that means it's going to be more often than not, you're not going to get all of it and you're going to get cut up a bit. So I think this way, the way we tend to approach it is just trying to keep ourselves out of trouble as much as possible. And I might just drop out now. I hope I'm still going there. Let me just check. Yep, we're all back. So what we're trying to do is keep ourselves out of trouble as much as possible, because at this stage here, right up until right up until about here. This is more the unknown, and this is becoming more of the known. All right. I want to draw an arrow. Where's my little? Here we go. So that there is the unknown, and that there is more the known. Does that make sense? So here you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, it could just continue lower, make lower highs, lower lows, continue its way down. As soon as you start seeing a higher low hold, okay, that's a bit of a heads up that you're becoming more into, you're coming out of the unknown, more into the known. You're starting to get this acceleration higher. And then what we're trying to do there is just build a nice little pushing, get the price action we like to try to take advantage of the next leg up. Because we know this has had a leg up here. We're expecting that secondary leg up. All right, so we're trying to get in as early as possible at that leg up with as least risk as possible when we have a bit of confirmation. And what we're trying to do is when we do, if this all goes well and we buy into that, we get this type of price action, we buy in just here. We're giving up a bit, I know, but the idea is to try and keep it a safer trade, a high probability trade as we can. And then we try to look to when, somewhere potentially around, initially look at it around 4, because that's a high. We want to see what sort of reaction there. If it blows through there, okay, we may take a partial there, or we're just trying to see what happens around that 5. We've got that projection, somewhere around $5, the first leg up, and that's starting to get towards the end of that leg potentially. This is all, nothing what we're just talking about is guaranteed, obviously, but it's educating. We're trying to look at the price action, and we're trying to see signs of sellers start to enter the market. So we just flip it around, the reverse of what we're doing here on the upside, or where we potentially could exit. And if it doesn't, you just keeps going. You want to try and suck out as much juice out of that trade as you can. All right. Thanks very much, Barry. Thanks for joining me, mate. And I hope we see you again on Monday. If you're still there, if not, we'll see you then. Thanks for joining us, guys. I might have to call it a day there. I hope that was informative. And again, sorry about the issues. I will get that sorted out. I'll be on the phone, I think, to Optus this afternoon, just trying to get them to get rid of this ADSL and get a nice little plan where I can upload a lot better and just see if it kicks along nicely. Yeah, it's still hanging in there. All right, let's call it a day there, guys. Thanks for joining me. We'll be back in on Monday, and have a great weekend. And again, like I said, it's a holiday in the US tonight. Might be a fairly quiet session tomorrow, so if it is, you might as well enjoy yourself, do something else, prepare for a good weekend.